Okay, hi, good evening. How's everyone doing? Welcome in. Monday edition of The Slate. We are a DraftKings program. We are here up until 6 o'clock on a Monday, March 27th. Brendan Glasheen, Jeff Ulrich, two-man show for today. Hope you are all having a good start to your week. We will dive into some golf later on in the show. Masters look ahead. We have another whole week until then, but we can look at the PGA landscape, some hockey games tonight. We want to start, though, Jeff, with the latest on Lamar Jackson. He's got the Twitter fingers working today. I'm not too sure if this was out there by the time the sweat started this morning. It did come out. Lamar Jackson's 4-piece tweet came out at 10:48, so I guess it could have made air this morning. I didn't get to see it. Long story short, letter to the fans. Now this is the piece of news. Lamar Jackson shares with the world, and from what we know, he does not have official league-approved representation as far as an agent. He requested a trade from Baltimore on March 2nd. It is March 27th. So I guess credit to Lamar Jackson that this hasn't got out until now. John Harbaugh spoke today at the owners' meetings, plenty to pick apart from owners, coaches, GMs across the board. It does not appear these two sides are on the same page. We've seen this movie before with star players in the past. I don't know if the Ravens can patch this up. What are your thoughts?
I have said since basically potentially the start of last season, this is the road I saw this coming to. I mean, the Ravens have had multiple opportunities to get a deal done with Lamar Jackson. Every time that opportunity has come, the two sides have left without a long-term deal. Lamar Jackson has won an MVP. He's carried the team for stretches. The team has refused to build and give him appropriate weapons to really complement the offense. And they still won't commit to him. At some point, the player just says enough is enough. And this is the day and age where quarterbacks are starting to realize their worth in terms of getting fans into the stadium, their worth in terms of how much they mean to a franchise's future. Yeah. And Lamar Jackson is one of the players that realizes this, and he's demanding a trade. And it's not shocking to me at all, because if you look where this path started, which was last offseason, basically, when they couldn't get a deal done, not that shocking. This has just been red flag after red flag. And it's culminating with this news coming out. I'm not shocked at all Lamar Jackson requested a trade. I'm not shocked at all it happened like a month ago either, because it felt like it should have happened a month ago with where the two sides were at. So at this point, I don't expect Lamar Jackson to play for the Ravens again. I think the Ravens I'm not even sure what the Ravens are doing, to be honest. It feels like they're playing hardball or something. I don't even know if they're playing hardball, though. They just seem to be trying to wait out Lamar. It feels like the Ravens right now feel like a parent whose kid is having going through a phase or a temper tantrum kind of thing. And they're kind of just waiting to see when it's done and hoping that at the end of it, the child comes back. And I'm not calling Lamar Jackson a child. I'm just saying that's what it feels like the Ravens are doing.
Right.
I don't think that approach is going to work, quite frankly, because Lamar Jackson isn't a child. He's a legitimate professional quarterback, and I think he knows his worth. And I think that he will be fine sitting out and making a stand here. I don't know. The Ravens, like I said, they've had opportunities to get this done, and they don't want to go up to that amount. So I don't really see any resolution except Lamar leaving the Ravens. To your point, this was requested on March 2nd. We haven't seen anything. If anything, we've seen almost the opposite from this, where it's been the anti-trade, no one's interested for some reason. So again, you throw the C word, the collusion word out. I don't know, but now that it's out, it does feel like maybe this thing starts to take a little bit of momentum. Teams can now, they don't have to be clandestine about it. Okay, Lamar's on the trade block. Let's start throwing out real feelers. So that's, to me, where we're at. I'm not shocked at all this is happening. I think there's a lot of teams that should be in on Lamar Jackson right now.
Jeff Darlington had a tweet this morning, not a report, just kind of his opinion or sharing, connecting dots. He said, I'm not saying Lamar did this intentionally. I have no idea. I'm not entirely sure why he would, but it is noting, or pardon me, it is nothing if not fascinating that Lamar tweeted a 3-week-old trade request at the literal moment his head coach sat down in front of 28 reporters and several cameras. John Harbaugh basically eating a word salad today, kind of going in circles. Couldn't make a whole lot of sense of where he was at. He said that the two sides haven't spoken in a while, but he also said, that's my guy. I know you're not a big NBA guy, but do you remember way back when Dwight Howard was on the Orlando Magic and he wanted out of Orlando, and there was that awkward press conference where Stan Van Gundy, who's now doing television, was the coach of the Magic, and Dwight kind of pops in. He's got that smile, but it's like not like a smile, like a genuine smile. It's like, hey, what's up, man? Like, this is weird, huh? Like, and of course, those two sides eventually broke up and Howard left. So the key to the whole thing is the franchise tag. Like he would have to, like you had said, from a Ravens perspective, would they be better off trying to go seek a deal now? I'm not sure how fair value they're going to get. But Lamar Jackson, like you said, is clearly okay with just not playing until he gets the contract and gets his request fulfilled.
I think that the further you go in the offseason, the market for Lamar Jackson shrinks. The liquidity for Lamar Jackson essentially dries up, and you're left with fewer options. And if you do want to get a trade done, and they should at this point, because the other option just seems ludicrous, just letting him sit there. That hurts your franchise and it hurts Lamar. So if you did want to get a deal done, yes, I would suggest now is the time, probably before the draft. Once teams hit the draft and they get their players, they're kind of just set. A lot of teams are just set to just sit back and take it in. And a lot of teams will be content with themselves at that point. And other players can move into these like trade discussions as well. So, I mean, I'm always of the opinion that when you have a star player and it's time to move on from them, teams do not react quick enough and they don't get what they're supposed to do. There's some teams who have done well at getting, value for it. And those teams have generally been the ones that just don't drag things out. So if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, yeah, I would be looking to move Lamar Jackson. But like I said, this whole situation, as weird as it may seem like for Lamar to be doing this, I think the weirdness all comes from the Baltimore Ravens side, because I have no idea where the Baltimore Ravens are at with Lamar Jackson. All you get from them is, again, like refusal to commit to this quarterback, but also no movement on the player front. They don't even want to discuss a trade or like even act like this is happening. So at least Lamar Jackson has let it known that he's done. It's now time for the Ravens to do something, and the ball's firmly in their court. So, if you're Baltimore and you want to get this over with, it needs to be now.
Ravens win total is set at 8.5 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. DK Sportsbook had a tweet out earlier today as well with odds on Jackson's next team, even though I don't think the Falcons themselves came out and said this, but the reporting was that the Falcons were not interested in him. Next, you have Indianapolis, which I don't recall hearing anything today from the owners' meetings. If the Colts were asked about Lamar Jackson, I couldn't find anything. So if there's something there, I apologize. I know Robert Kraft of the New England Patriots discussed this today. He said Meek Mill, rap artist, reached out to Kraft via text and said that Lamar Jackson told Meek Mill he wants to be a Patriot. And then Kraft dodged it and said, well, that decision's up to Bill Belichick, which, I mean, Kraft has been pretty involved here since the departure of Brady. See Bill O'Brien being back in. Belichick didn't give you anything today. It was basically the orange juice meme all over again with Belichick at the owners' meetings from a couple of years ago. That's like a decade ago, honestly. It's not even a couple of years ago anymore. We'll play this game again. Where do you think? Well, if he's moved, where does he end up?
So the team that should be going out to get him, there's two teams that I think two teams right off the top of my head in the NFC.
There's two answers, right? It's the should, and then like what you think's going to happen, right?
Yeah. This is a tough one to decipher in terms of what I think is going to happen, because there's really, like, I know the Colts are favored, but there's no clear front runner. The two teams that I think should be all over this, and the first one is second in the betting odds, is the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta has a run-first mentality already. Arthur Smith loves to run the ball. It's going to be a similar system probably in a lot of ways to what Lamar Jackson was running with Greg Roman in Baltimore. They have a number one wide receiver in place in Drake London. They have a running back in Tyler Algier who would benefit immensely, in my opinion, from a option quarterback, because he's a very good between tackles runner. He's potentially like a 3-down back. And then you have potentially the ultimate weapon in Kyle Pitts over the middle, who I could easily replicate, if not do better than what Mark Andrews produced with Lamar Jackson. So Atlanta not being all over this is strange. It's extremely strange. I think it's probably a mistake on them. I don't fault any team for wanting to build through the draft, quite frankly, because that definitely is something that ensures long-term success for a franchise. But at the same time, draft picks are draft picks. When they don't work out, it just keeps lengthening your rebuild process as well. Ask the Jets and a couple other teams like that. So Atlanta's got a shot here to really fortify the quarterback position. They have everything in place they need on offense. It makes perfect sense for them to go out and get this player. The Detroit Lions are at plus 800 right now in the betting odds.
Yeah.
They're sixth. They're tied with Miami. Detroit is there. They're already there. This team is ready to go, in my opinion. They're signing the correct players in the offseason on defense. They've already bolstered their defense, with Cameron Sutton, with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the secondary. Yes, they could add another big-name player, to the defensive line if they just keep their draft picks. But, boy, adding Lamar Jackson to that offense, that may take you from a top 7, top 6 offense to top 2, top tier. Certainly would be pushing the Eagles for, supremacy in that regard. The Lions should go for it. They really should. I think they should. I think they have a good coach there in Dan Campbell. They already have a top 5 offense, essentially. Their defense probably ready to take a jump. Go for it. Jared Goff is limited. He's not terrible, but that this is the kind of push over the top move that we've seen the Rams make.
Literally, and Goff was involved in that one. They could do the Goff Stafford trade all over again.
Yes.
Send Goff to Baltimore, and the Ravens have a bridge guy.
As much as I like building around rookie quarterbacks, the main theme of the Super Bowl the past 2 years has been Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes, has been Joe Burrow versus Matthew Stafford. It's been star quarterback versus star quarterback. It's not a big secret. You need someone under center in most cases. Yes, the Garoppolo thing with the 49ers got there, but we saw all too well, how eventually having a limited quarterback catches up with you with San Francisco this season. So,
yep.
And I mean, again, it was a bit of a bad luck injury, but I think that the 49ers were getting beaten in that game regardless. The Lions should go for it. I would love to see them on the Lions. I think it'd be really cool for both sides. I think it would give Detroit some hope that they haven't had. They already have hope, but some serious hope that they haven't had in a while. That to me is where I'd love to see him go. Where I think he'll go, it is tough to discern the psychology of some of these teams, but Washington and Indianapolis seem like the most realistic fits here. I don't really know what's going on with Washington because of the whole ownership thing. That may get in the way of this. The Colts,
it would be a really nice breath of fresh air, though, if you get a new ownership in there and you're bringing a star. You could really,
if this all worked out at the same time, you're right. It could.
Talk about a clean slate.
Yeah, it could. But the Colts are the favorites here for a reason. They've sat back. They haven't, what you'd say, shot. They were they haven't made their shot yet. They didn't trade up for number one. They're sitting back and letting the quarterback market develop in the draft. They've had some linkage to Anthony Richardson potentially.
Levis too.
Yeah, and they seem content to just take whoever is going to fall to them there. But this opens up another door, and they're, to their credit, they're not in the position of the Panthers now where they're pot committed. They can still go to the draft, or now they can explore Lamar Jackson. And I think that the Colts have, Shane Steichen now as head coach, who just finished running that Eagles offense. Another really interesting fit. So I think that, you asked me, I'm just going to go with the favorite. That's probably what will happen. The Colts, I think, make a lot of sense too, and they should be going after Lamar Jackson. It's a weak division they're in. They've got an experienced offensive head coach coming in. If they can gel with Lamar right off the top, they have every chance of competing next year, and certainly into the future as well. So the Colts make the most sense. I would love to see the Lions get in on this. I would like to see the Falcons get in on this too.
Yep.
And, looking down the board here, long shot potential, Vikings maybe.
Wow. If you're an NFC team, if you're the NFC and you don't have like Dallas is tied up with Dak, Jalen Hurts is on a rookie deal. He's staying put.
It's funny to see the 49ers at plus 2,000, isn't it? I thought they'd be a little higher, but I guess Kyle Shanahan can never have too many quarterbacks. So
every NFC, and then I think the Packers are pretty convinced they're going to go. I mean, we'll see what it looks like with Jordan Love, but they're pretty much that's their plan. They're going to see that.
The Packers.
My overall point being is, you could make a case that every team in the NFC should be on the phone.
That's fair. The Packers, I would be pretty shocked if that happened. But yeah, you're correct. Most teams in the NFC should be interested in this. Maybe I would say take the Eagles out. God, if I was the Cardinals, I may even be in on this, to be honest. Like, I'm just not the biggest Kyler Murray fan. So I'm not sure how many people are right now, but yeah, I think there's a few NFL teams we can cross, or NFC teams we can cross off, but
the Bears would be fascinating. They have so many picks. You flip Fields to Baltimore. You start over with a young quarterback. Maybe needs a fresh start. Got the coaching.
Yeah.
I think you got the defense built in as far as a culture. Lamar's in a win-now spot with DJ Moore and company in Chicago.
I don't know how much more upside you're getting by going to Lamar over Fields. I know Lamar's the MVP candidate, but Justin Fields, cheap contract, lets you build out. He does so many of the same things. And we still don't really know his full potential because he's played on such bad teams so far. So if I was the Bears, I wouldn't do that. But certainly there's a few teams. I think the Vikings, if they could somehow swing some kind of deal for Kirk Cousins, would be a team to be in on. But I think that the most likely scenario, it's one of those top six teams. Trying to think of anyone outside of the top six teams that we have there: Miami, Detroit, New England, Washington, Atlanta, Indy. Maybe Seattle gets in on this potential team. Definitely could see a Pete Carroll kind of thing there, but I don't really have too much faith right now unless we get some kind of reports, suggesting otherwise.
Those rabid fan bases too, to be fair to them, the Lions and Bears jump out because, and I know they had Stafford for years, the Lions, but those are two fan bases that are just so thirsty for winning. The Bears, especially at that position, they haven't had a quarterback in forever, 2 decades minimum. Like Jay Cutler, if you want to just throw his name in there, but they haven't had a competent player at that position. And I would like to add also though on the Colts, you go what? Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. So here I am saying, I'm almost contradicting myself. Like, well, now, hey, look, they're at the number 4 pick, but they're bailing themselves out there too. Like, well, we're not controlling the quarterback market. So if someone falls to us, I mean, if it doesn't work, like, well, look, we got the 3rd best quarterback in the draft. What do you expect us to do? It's kind of like, but if you go for it, by going for it with Lamar, Ballard, Irsay, like that combination GM owner, then there's some pressure there if you go get Lamar.
Yeah.
Whereas there's no pressure if you settle on Richardson, or if you reach with Levis, then you're buying yourself more time if it doesn't go right. So here I am saying you've gone 3 straight years with veteran washed up quarterbacks, or at least quarterbacks at the end of the road. Why don't you get another one now that's worth $50 million a year?
Yeah.
And we talk so much about the rookie quarterback thing too. The cap's only going up. The position's only going to get more expensive. That's the case I hear in New England all the time. Well, if you stick with Mac Jones and it goes well, great in the short term, that you're going to have to pay him the same
or you have
price,
to go out and
if
draft
not
another.
more.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's such a finicky balance. It's a risk. I mean, but like you said, the recent sample size, Stafford, Brady, Stafford, Brady, in terms of the quarterback acquisition, to just go for it and not worry about your draft picks and your money. In Kansas City to a degree, but Mahomes has been cooperative with reworking the contract. So but this could drag out for a while. And hey, don't rule out a big move happening around the draft. We still have a month till the draft. So
for sure.
Time to I think DeAndre Hopkins. I know Sean Payton spoke today about their receivers, and I heard it's such a good point too. Like Payton, he's right. They need pieces at receiver. I'm just using this as an example. Like Harbaugh, they're all going to say stuff today and take the high road on stuff, but that does not rule out Sean Payton getting a phone call and someone offers a first and a third for Jerry Jeudy. Oh, okay, we'll do that. Just like when the Giants extended or gave Odell Beckham Jr. a contract a few years ago. Well, why would we give him the contract if he wasn't going to play for us? And what do you know, in March, he was traded to Cleveland. So if they get the right deal, they'll make the move. Man, I didn't think it, just when you thought Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, like that story was number one. This takes the cake, I think, because of the
Lamar's
upside.
Definitely, yeah. I look at these teams, and if it's anyone other than, I'll throw Miami in there too. I could see them doing it. I just don't think that Miami will do it. If it's anyone other than Atlanta or Detroit, I'll be disappointed. From a setup perspective, those two teams have a shot to really just supercharge their franchises for the next couple of years, seasons, potentially more. They're both in really good spots. The Lions are obviously further in the rebuild, and I think you have less questions about coaching and stuff with the Lions. But like Atlanta is in the weakest division in football, and it's like by a country mile potentially here. Lamar Jackson in that division with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Algier, and even like the offensive line that they've kind of been fortifying here.
It just extended Lindstrom.
Yep. Going up against a washed Saints team, the Bucks, and the Panthers, who I actually have some hope for, but I don't think they're going to be necessarily good next season. That is ripe for the taking. That is absolutely straight up right there in front of you. You just have to get this deal done. That's it. So Atlanta, man, like you got to do this. If you're Arthur Smith and you're in charge of this franchise, I don't really know what the reason would be to not go out and get Lamar Jackson. It makes zero sense. And the Lions have a little bit more of an excuse here, but like they're Detroit Lions, man. Like, come on. Like, you've never been in this position. Put yourself in a position to not only like be the favorite in the division, but like be a favorite for the conference, have potentially the best quarterback in the division all of a sudden, like everything with this move. So
you get Lamar Jackson indoors 8 or 9 times a year.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like this, like
Colts too.
The Colts, Falcons, and Lions. I know. Like I think that's a benefit. I think that's a benefit for Lamar. I really do.
I'm saying that as a benefit for sure. Now, if it's a sloppy rain game, snow game, and you got a run game, I know he could help there too. But risk of injury inside, don't have to worry about. Knock on wood. I think your chances are better, right? Like I think that helps.
I do too. I mean, I'm of that opinion as well. Lamar is like, he's not like a small guy, but he's still, a little bit wiry. I think that his skill set translates better to a dome. I would rather see that. So all three of those dome teams, the Patriots thing is interesting. I'll admit, I actually think it kind of makes a little bit of sense for the Patriots to explore this.
Belichick did not commit to Mac Jones today as
Yeah.
a starting quarterback.
Yeah. And look, like you're right about Mac Jones. I mean, at some point, like this becomes a Daniel Jones situation. Like, what if Mac Jones stinks next year and you're like, okay, well, he's on a rookie deal. Let's give him another shot. And he plays better. Then what do you do? Like, you just keep extending Mac Jones until you're mediocre into oblivion. At least this solves that problem. And it gives you maybe like a little window here of a couple seasons where you can put something together. But I just don't know if the Patriots have what else needs to be in place. Like, the Patriots in a weird spot too. I think it would be kind of a waste if Lamar Jackson went there. Like that's one of the spots I just don't really want to see as a kind of a fan or like, somebody from a fantasy perspective. Even doesn't mean that he can't have success there, but even if he goes there, I'm not sure how bullish I'd be on the Patriots in a division against Miami, the Jets, and that defense, and the Bills next season. So it would certainly be intriguing, but I really want one of those three dome teams, and Detroit and Atlanta definitely top of my list.
As a fan of the league, I think I would like to see him in the NFC just to give the balance of power at that position. Give us another big, especially if Rodgers is out the door going to New York. I mean, give us another legitimate star in the two divisions, the South and in the North. The North, you've got Green Bay, Minnesota, Bears. I know the Bears did well with the accumulation of picks, but you're right in the mix. You're the favorites. You already are the favorites with Jared Goff. And then in the South, as you said, I mean, you got Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and a rookie quarterback in year one. And we don't even know how good Stroud's going to be. The fact that Stroud is they're still tossing around the idea of Young or Richardson going one. It tells you everything you need to know. There's no consensus. Yeah, I mean, number one. I could do this all night.
It's going to be Stroud. But anyways, we have like 5 minutes left, man. Should we hit on?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, I know. It's such a juicy topic. It's so fun.
Oh, for sure.
The owners' meetings being today. This league is now like the NBA. You could talk about this league every freaking day.
We do.
Now, we do. We already do that, but it's just reminding myself that that's where we are, and it's good. It's good fodder, good chit chat. Do you want to look ahead, Masters, or do you have something on your eye for this coming week?
I can briefly mention this coming week. I mean, Valero Texas Open. Obviously a lot weaker field than we got last week. Most of the elite players skipped this event to focus on their preparation for the Masters. So, highest ranked player in the field is Tyrrell Hatton. Actually, that's not even true. It's Hideki Matsuyama, I think. But the point is there's no top 20 players in the field. There's no top 10 players in the field.
Oh, got it.
It's very wide open. You look down, there's a lot of players who haven't qualified for the Masters yet. Ricky Fowler, Matt Kuchar. A win here would get them into the Masters. So it's always a story for this week. Just quickly from an odds perspective, you don't have to bet anyone at the top of the board this week. I think I'm definitely going to be in on Davis Riley. Very, very solid young talent. Can stripe the ball. Iron play has been improving. Off the tee game has been really steady for him of late. Been putting well. Davis Riley almost won in Texas last season. So I think that's where I would go. I don't mind taking him at that number. I really don't. I think that he's a high class player. So, but if you go further down, guys like Ryan Fox at plus 4,000, I think is very interesting. Good ball strikers, won numerous times over in Europe. I do not hate that number. I actually don't hate Matt Wallace, who won last week as well. Wallace did not get into the Masters with his win last week in Corrales. So Wallace is still searching for a Masters invite. He should be motivated this week. And I also think Cam Davis at plus 5,000 is pretty interesting. If you want a quick long shot play, Eric Van Rooyen at EVR, where is his price now? He was at plus 1,100. He's at plus 9,000 now. Still a good price. He gained 7 strokes on approach at Valspar 2 starts ago. Really solid ball striker. I think he's live this week. So Van Rooyen at plus 9,000, a good long shot bet.
Okay, and Masters, what you'd be looking ahead at now to get out ahead of it and get a better line, a better number?
Yeah, let me pull up my Masters odds here for a sec. But obviously 2 weeks away. A lot of the big names obviously have skipped this event. So the Valero I'm talking about. So we're not going to get a ton of line movement here on players and their odds. The odds will reset the week, after this event does. And you'll probably see it jostle a little bit. But if we're looking at it right now, you've seen the odds on Jason Day get shafted down to plus 2,200. He was around plus 4,000 a couple weeks ago. That's been a big move. Jordan Spieth has moved down to plus 1,800. Cantlay's sitting there at plus 2,200 as well. His odds have kind of gone up a little bit. He was kind of getting down there around the plus 2,000, even under mark at some point. And then you've got Rory, Scheffler, and Rahm all at plus 700. Certainly, I'm not going to touch the top guys at plus 700. If we get Rory at plus 1,000, I might have interest. But as of now, like I would be looking to catch some drift on like Tony Finau or Patrick Cantlay when these odds shift a little bit. Cantlay, still an elite player. Has handled Augusta well in the past before. He's just really struck the ball well to start the season. I like Finau for a lot of the same reasons. If you go back further, Max Homa's played extremely well to start the season. His numbers shrunk. It was plus 4,000, plus 5,000, probably 2 months ago. But that's what happens when you start winning events, when you compete every week. Max Homa's still just very, very solid player. A lot of self-belief. So that's kind of where we are with the odds right now. There's certainly some players further back in the odds that I'll be taking a shot with. Siwoo Kim comes to mind, is definitely a player who, if you're looking for like some kind of top 20, top 10 bet the week of the Masters, I think Siwoo Kim, who's actually played this course quite a bit, is pretty interesting. I'm not even sure if he's on the board right now. He is qualified for this event. Yeah, he's plus 8,000. So Siwoo Kim, a player to look at, I think, when the placing odds come out. I like him for top 20 and that sort of thing.
Okay, looking at the forecast now, I know I'm way ahead, 2 weeks out.
That's pretty far ahead.
Yeah, it's probably a little far ahead, but it always rains this time of year anyway down south. But some sprinkles early in the week. But of course, we worry about Thursday through the rest of the weekend. All right, man. I think that's it. We got to get going. Good stuff. It's just a lot of chatter right now.
Yeah,
it's good.
A lot of chatter. Maybe we'll get some movement on it eventually. I don't know. This feels like it's going to drag out. Baltimore just they feel like they're just stuck in mud right now, but who knows?
Good for us. It extends the discussion, and the draft will be here before you know it. Okay, that's it. Thanks to Eamon and Cody behind the scenes. There's your messaging that you need to be responsible. For Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen, you all have a great rest of your Monday evening.